First year made about 18,000 from March to December. Not a lot of money in the way I looked at it, but I just consistency, commitment, not knowing what I know, but just hit the ground running, do my best. I was able to up that number a lot. So really, it's just kind of sticking with it. And the more you learn, the more you earn.
Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and today we're talking about real estate and how to be a better agent. That's what this show is all about. So how can we be a better agent? And I'm here to share tips, tricks, and other things that I've learned throughout my 20 plus years in the business, and then also invite other guests to really share in that discussion and hopefully bring some value to our listeners that also want to level up their business and become a better real estate agent out in the world of real estate. So today I've got a great guest with me. Alexander Reid has joined me and also goes by Alex, but he's joined me out of the Milwaukee market. So same state. We're both here in Wisconsin, and I'm over in the Madison area, and Alex here is over in Milwaukee. But I think he's got a great story and been in the business since 2016, 2017 timeframe. And so since then, I won't share any more of the glory. I'll let Alex introduce himself and share a little bit more on his background and kind of what led you here today and what brought you to real estate.
I appreciate that, Josh. Thank you for having me on. Ultimately, love real estate. There's been ups, there's been downs, but like you said, I got started in 2016, 2017 as a young man. Didn't know anything. Started in the Illinois market, and this is something where being broke, being hungry, learning a brand new industry. Originally I wanted to be a doctor, physician assistant, and then working my ways through the trials and tribulations of the beast of real estate, the game of real estate. This is something where has unlocked a lot of opportunities, really helped my family, my friends, and then ultimately is something that I'm so passionate about every day that I'm able to do it consistently without getting burnt out. So again, it's a pleasure that I got invited on here. I got this email and then you brought me on. I'm like 100% another fellow Wisconsin agent. Let's roll. Let's do this.
Let's roll. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think kudos to you. I mean, you've made it past kind of that 5-year mark. So if you're
Yes.
brand new in the business, the number of agents that can make it past 5 years is actually relatively low. The fallout rate is fairly high for those first 2 years in the business, at least. And that was my experience. I think, my first couple of years in the business were probably some of the hardest, and, didn't make a ton of money and just kind of wondered if this career path is actually the right one for me. But I know for myself, I had to just kind of get through that and kind of keep going. And then eventually things, momentum started to take over. I mean, what do you think? Was that a similar experience that you had, or what was that like for you, just kind of getting started?
I love that you said momentum, because in the beginning, it feels like you're clawing. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw a study. It was 87% of agents don't make it past the first 3 years. So for me, I was like, if I make it to year 4, I am so happy. This is something where I've survived the industry. I'm able to kind of push, persevere. Biggest thing though is when you first get into it, I graduated from school in 2017 officially. The day after, sat behind my dad's desk. Thank God, a man of 30 plus years of experience in real estate taught me everything he knew. This is something where first year made about 18,000 from March to December. Not a lot of money in the way I looked at it, but I just consistency, commitment, not knowing what I know, but just hit the ground running, do my best. I was able to up that number a lot. So really, it's just kind of sticking with it. And the more you learn, the more you earn. I kind of came from that Keller Williams whole university, sipping that Kool-Aid, and nothing bad to say about Keller Williams. Love their training, love what they present, but this is something where I wanted to be successful so bad, and I had no idea what that meant at that time. So I tried pretty much anything that I could.
Yeah.
I don't know
for
if
sure.
that's the same experience with you, but yeah, we don't know what we don't know. right?
Yeah, well, I think that's a lot of people, you think
Yeah.
you might want to try it. I know that was the experience for me. I got into the business somewhat accidentally, wasn't sure if I wanted to make it. I don't know if I mean, I probably made a similar amount to you. I should go back to my tax return, but
Yeah.
I know it wasn't a lot of money that first year, but I definitely supplemented my income as a bartender and waiting tables a little bit,
Right.
but I also had a mentor at the time.
Love
My
that.
mom got me into the business, so if you're brand new in the business, like getting a mentor that has some experience and under their belt,
Yes.
years of experience can really fast forward your trajectory and your path. And then, I love that you brought up the training. I think, if you're, regardless of which company you're at,
That's
if
right.
you're new, like you need to go to training, you need to get schooling, right? Like it's beyond way more than just getting your real estate license in this business, right? Like that's almost the hardest part or the easiest part. The hardest part is actually figuring out what you're actually doing and then getting clients and then advising them through what is one of the most significant transactions of their lives, and how do you guide them through that effectively? So what, if you're open to sharing, anything about numbers, metrics, that kind of thing. I mean, I know you shared the beginning. What about maybe some of the high points in terms of units or volume or income, if you're comfortable with it or whatever, where
Yeah,
you're at
yeah, no, I'm
today?
totally comfortable. Just to paint a picture, to kind of agents, and even people listening to kind of this podcast. So the most successful years I've had have been these last 2 to 3 years. Recently got engaged. This is something we're in 2022. I bought a house here in Greenfield and I was looking at my bank account and I had under $10,000. There's nothing scarier than asking for, somebody's hand in marriage, looking at her father and saying, I'm going to take care of her and you being broke. And I'm like, this is just not okay. So I really hit the ground running, working extremely hard, but trying to be smart about it and sticking to a schedule. And in the early years, I didn't necessarily do that. Now, I think on average, I'm closing about 30 to 35 deals, looking to grow that. I have a virtual assistant that helps me kind of as like an executive assistant. And I've been able to kind of fluctuate gross commissions between gross commission as far as income 250 to 275. Fortunately, so that $10,000 in my bank account, luckily I've been able to grow that. I've been able to invest that money, but that came with a lot of hard work, trials and tribulations in my early years, and a lot of ups and downs in the bank account. So, yeah, this is something where it's been very much treating me well, whether it's a good market, a bad market. I really think it comes down to the more you grow as a person, the more you want to learn, the hungrier you are, and the way you want to take care of people, God gives back to you.
Yeah.
Really so. So,
Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. I love that you start humble, you start small, and to go from, 18,000 to 250, 275, like that's a significant growth curve, man.
yes,
Like that's enormous. And, certainly that is possible for anyone listening to the show. I mean, I think that, if you're wondering, hey, can I make it in this business? Yeah, you can totally make it. And I think there was one thing that you said that really resonated with me because I know it impacted my career at several times along the way, and that was following
yes,
a schedule, right?
yes,
Because following a schedule, and actually it's one of the first things we have agents do when they join our team is write out your ideal schedule. Spend some time just being deliberate. Like if say
right,
you're applying for a normal job, right? They got a 40-hour work week, and guess what? They probably have a schedule. Okay. Well, in real estate, you can do whatever you want, right? You're an independent contractor, sort, right?
yes,
That's what most realtors are. And you can work whatever schedule you want. But if you can define for yourself, like, what is that ideal schedule, right? Like, when ideally would I want to go on appointments? When ideally am I going to spend my time prospecting and finding new leads and new
right,
opportunities? How many hours am I going to commit to every single day to doing that? Because ultimately, that is one of your primary job duties is to find new business, right? You need to find every time you have a client that closes on their house, you have just become unemployed. And so,
true.
okay. So you are no longer getting a paycheck and you need to go find the next one. And in some ways,
That's
I
right.
think, the excitement of this business, right? It's kind of fun. Like, how do you find the next one? It's somewhere out there. Who knows where it's going to come from? But leave it to God and leave it to your schedule to help find the right opportunities. And if you go digging for it and create that structure around an unlimited structure, I think the
Right.
more successful you will be. I know that I found that to be the case for me. And I always found it helpful to, get kind of my for me anyway, it was like doing kind of physical exercise early in the morning was really impactful, and trying to get just my day set up right and do a little bit of journaling, a little bit of reading, and kind of get my good breakfast and with my family and kids. And then before that, then I start my morning out more solid, and I'm able to then spend a couple hours every day trying to find new business, right? And follow up on leads and all those people that you met at the open house or people in your neighborhood or wherever it might be, right? Those are the people to follow up with and reach out to. And it's, I mean, I know there's lots of different ways to do it these days, right? People, they can go on social media, they can text their friends, they can email,
True.
they can do whatever,
Hmm.
right? There's so many different platforms, I feel like. But at the end of the day, phone calls for me are still a big part of my day. And if you're not on the phone, you're maybe missing the mark, I think. So
I think so as well. Honestly, like you're basically talking about following that schedule, clearing that mind. That is so huge in this business because if you're cluttered, it's going to present in your business as well. So ultimately, following that schedule, clearing your mind, taking care of yourself in the morning, and then going into prospecting or showings. But hitting those marks to kind of win the day for yourself, I think really matters. And being consistent with that, you could build upon that. If it's something where you don't have consistency, you might feel like you're taking two steps back instead of a step forward. And that's kind of what I think about. Like I played college tennis, had a coach tell me, hey, every day you work at this, you're taking a step forward. You take a day off, if you're lazy, that's two steps back. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? Commit to that. And that's kind of what I applied to my business as well.
yeah, no, that's a good mindset. I think, being a college athlete, an athlete in
Yes.
any regard, I think whether it was high school or college, I think can be helpful, and those principles hold true. I mean, my main
Right.
sport, I was a wrestler through high school, and I wrestled 3 years in
Love
college. And, I'm still kind of wrestling with my kids now, but, but at the end of the day, right? You have to wake up with a mindset of wanting to win the day.
Yes.
And then if you can do it consistently every single day, go win the day, then you win the match and you win, at the tournament or whatever it might be. And maybe that's, winning the client. And then now it's winning
Yes.
multiple clients. And suddenly you're doing 30, 50, 80, 100 transactions a year, because every day you get up and you go to practice and you're excited about it and you're motivated and you're focused. And I love the sports analogies. I think they're great. They work for me
Yes.
because I'm an athlete. But if you're not, maybe I would strongly consider it. Right? Might consider some type of sport or whatever. If you can apply those same kind of principles, I think it'll take you a long way. That's for sure. Very
I think
cool.
so too. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. What I don't know. Let's maybe shift gears. So, like, okay, we've talked about schedule, we talked about
Hmm.
that. What about like, okay, after since 2017, 2018, right? I'm sure there's probably been some down periods, right? Like it wasn't always just upward growth, right? And there probably, I'm guessing, were some setbacks or downturns or
Yes.
that kind of thing. And especially now, right? We've had a couple years here where since COVID, right, the market went crazy, and then
Hmm.
now we're seeing some of the lowest sales in 20 to 30 years in terms of the total market and across the United States. But,
Right.
and there's obviously exceptions to that rule in each niche markets, I think. But, what about, yeah, tell me more. Let's talk more about the down periods. So how about for
I
you?
appreciate that. People have to know that, you know?
Yeah.
So I originally from Illinois real estate moving up to Wisconsin. I kind of did that on a whim. I moved up here because I had friends up here. I wanted to have a business up here, and I had a different person that I so loved, and then I got my heart broken. So
Yeah.
everybody talking about 2019 and how it really took off, even with like COVID and real estate, I was feeling quite the opposite, was feeling down. I'm gonna be very real right now. This is something where I am such a prideful person that when we kind of broke up, I didn't want to go home back to Illinois. And I kind of couch surfed, I'm gonna be honest, between friends while running a real estate business while being heartbroken. And I was just really finding myself. This is something where my business didn't really take off in Wisconsin because one, contracts were different. Markets were different. Coming from Illinois, everybody thought I was a fib and a Bears fan, and this is something where why would I give them my business? You know? So I
Uh-huh.
was going through all the trials and tribulations. Um, but I just kept on kind of persevering and kept my circle tight and just really rebuilt myself block by block. Not saying I didn't have the support of my family. My family is awesome. Love my family. But the pride in me basically saying, I don't want to ask for money. I don't want to ask for necessarily help from them, and I'm going to figure it out. Really, I think translated into my business. So when I started to hit momentum, this is something flat out where I just didn't want to feel that pain again. I wanted to be so successful, wanted to help people. And because of that, I never really judge people. Everybody has different trials, different tribulations, what they're going through, and you can't really judge them based on maybe a response or the way they act to you, especially on a cold call. If you take that personally, you're not going to be doing very good in this business. You got to grow a thick skin and understand everybody's at different places in their life. They're
Mhm.
looking out for themselves, and maybe that was just a bad time. That was one of those things where it's cool to look back on and see how far you've come. And everybody's situation's different. People are in worse positions and they can really pull themselves out of it too. Um, and even before that, as far as business goes, you see people selling $900,000 homes, $800,000 homes, and you think, wow, they're rich.
Yeah.
But do you know where they've come from? And
Yeah.
when I was early on in my business, I would take anything, Josh. I would take absolutely anything. I sold a mobile home for $7,000 and then sold another mobile home in the new year after that for $17,000. And you never know where those people are going to go because they turn around and bought a $700,000 home. So coming from nothing, being able to take every opportunity, I think really puts you in a position of learning, number one. Number two, not judging people because you never know where they're at. So everybody in a suit comparative to just a general t-shirt, I'm not going to judge them. I'm just going to talk to them as
Mhm.
humans. And that's opened up more opportunities because when I was down, people treated me nice and kind of that way. And it was something where it's very eye opening, as you
Mhm.
progress through life. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, I love that. I love that thought, and I love that mindset. I mean, I
yeah,
think I've had similar experiences. Right, not my business hasn't always been a linear curve, always to upward.
right.
Right, I've had some downturns as well. But yeah, don't judge people. Right, don't take them at first glance. Right, and
That's correct.
just accept them and like meet them where they're at. I think that's super important. I know I've had several instances in my career too where yeah, maybe they didn't buy the most expensive house first, but that was their starter home. And then they
Right.
called me a couple years later and they're like, okay, we're ready to upgrade. We're ready for the next
Yeah.
one. And then
Right.
boom, then they do jump up in that price point. And assuming you did a good job and stayed in touch, then yeah, they're gonna call you. And so doing that is I think is super important as well. So yeah, no, that's really good. I love that. Yeah, I know I think I had probably in my career, I think my peak was probably during COVID and we were doing gosh, probably 24, 25 million with just a
Yep.
small team of three of us,
That's
me
awesome,
and
Josh.
an admin and another agent. And then in 2024, I had a down year, the market shifted. And then we also
Right.
actually ended up transitioning some different team members. So those team members that were with me at that time actually are no longer with me today. Our business fell quite a bit down. I think we only did around 14, 15 million, something like that. And then, but 2025, then we jumped back up and we're closer to 21 million or so. So, I think having that mentality too, even if you do have a down year, even if you do say your team blows up, right, you can rebuild, you can start
You can.
over and you can keep
Mhm.
going. So I know for me, that was kind of a big momentum shift, but where I'm at today is I'm in a different spot and it's like, I'm just going to kind of keep going and keep growing as much as I can. That's the whole point of this podcast. Right. And that's why I like talking to people like you and other people that we've had on the
Yes.
show is like, how do we share that mindset? How do we grow together and really just keep that momentum going in a good positive direction? So,
Yeah. I
uh,
have a lot to learn from you, Josh.
yeah,
I tend to be where you're at, growing a team as well. So I love kind of having this banter. Love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk a little bit deeper on that. I mean, in terms of kind of team building and growth. I mean, I don't know. So I know, I think when I think when I was around that 30 to 35 transaction mark, that was definitely
Right.
when I was at a point where I'm too busy to just do everything myself, right? And that was
Mhm.
when I think was a good time for me anyway to bring on a transaction coordinator, get some additional administrative help. And, I know when I did that, my business took off, gosh, probably at least 60%. It grew within the next year. And so it more than paid for that additional personal assistant, right? That was able to help me with the transactions, help follow through on all those things, and then also allow me to stay more focused on what my schedule should be, right? So that's where
Yes.
we've gone full circle, right? What's your ideal schedule? And if you're running at the highest level possible, right, you're spending most of your time either finding new business or following up on business or going on appointments. I mean, those are the main things. And then also, going to trainings and learning and all those things are super important as well. But like, if you're entering the listing and filling out all the paperwork to put it together, like those are tasks that could and probably should be outsourced if you're doing a decent amount of business. If you're only doing 3 or 4 deals a year, probably doesn't matter. You have the time to
Correct.
do that. But, if you're going to do 20, 30, 40 or more, you need some leverage. And I think just having that leap of faith to hire somebody, I think really makes sense. It's hard. I know for me, I know I'm a little bit of a control freak in some ways, right? Like I want things just so, and like, so leveraging to take some of those tasks off your plate can be hard. I know it's sometimes hard for me. And I've learned over the years to try to just trust the process and like, yeah, they may not do everything exactly how I want it, but we can revisit it and refine it together. And, that's okay. Right. Like it needs to be,
This
my
is great
time.
to hear.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Ultimately, same exact situation, right? You take a leap of faith and you're basically betting on yourself to say, hey, I know I could do more of the money making activities. I'm trusting somebody to take the transaction a little bit more personal side of the business,
Hmm.
And even though they're not meeting or exceeding you 100, 120%, even if it's 60, 70, 80%, that's more than you already have, right? So
Hmm.
kind of believing in that, understanding the system may break and you're going to have to rebuild it, have late nights, early mornings, train, video, and just keep on improving that. But then once you get there, it's really inspiring. It's nice to have that support, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think I could be here. What else is possible? Let's
Yeah.
continue searching and looking for that. So
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up. Leap of faith. It
Yeah.
definitely feels like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel like that. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
especially if you've never hired anyone before. I know when I first
Yes.
hired an assistant or anything like that, like I had never hired anybody. I didn't know how am I going to do that? And then am I going to have enough work for them? I think that was a big fear and doubt in my mind, right? Like, well, oh my
Same.
gosh, well, what if I can only afford to pay them for a month or two? And like, what if I don't have another deal or something, right? Like I don't have
Right.
enough going on. And in some ways, that's the biggest motivator you need,
Yes.
because if you have that payroll person, you will go find another deal. Like it'll motivate you to go get it and
Yes.
find it.
Yeah, it's a very accountable kinda, how do I put it? Very accountable system having other team members there with you because 'cause
Yeah.
they're looking at you
Yeah.
as a leader to get
Yeah.
it done, and you can't really let people down. You have your family, now you have
Yeah.
a team member and your
Yeah.
clients,
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't wanna let people down, and if you
No.
do, it's kinda like you gotta revisit, "Okay, what are my goals? Who am I as a person? And what do I want out of
Yeah.
life?" So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, man, for sure. Cool. Well, we've talked on a lot of different topics, and I feel like we've
We
hit
have.
some good high points, low points, starting small to coming through some various challenges along the way, and then also what's possible and what success could look like. Anything else that's coming up for you that you think our listeners might find valuable for us to kind of chat about?
Yeah, I think the one thing that has really resonated with me recently is really understanding not only the traditional side of real estate, but investors and
Ah,
everything happening within the investment world because you kind of want to speak that same language, be able to backtrack numbers. And there's a lot of videos going out there talking about wholesaling, novations, which is not legal for real estate agents to do.
what did you say?
Subject
Novations?
novations. It's
Uh,
basically a net listing, but people call it novations, equity
Oh,
protection programs. but understanding where the mindset of an investor is,
Yeah.
so you could truly help your client because at times we have clients that are in distress, they're highly stressed, and they want to make a quick decision, but being able to educate, know the process from start to finish, understand the market, and just coming from a place of help and curiosity versus like this is all about money. My dad always told me you chase money, it runs away. Take care of the people, money will follow you and take care of them. And that's kind of the motto I've lived by.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I think you got to definitely take care of the people, and I think if you're not, you're
100%.
you're not going to be in this business long. I mean,
Amen.
people online reviews are real, and if you don't think they are, like they're knocking on your door, and if you
Yes,
start doing shady business, like it's going to show
that's
up,
right.
and you're not going to be in business long. So I think those days are kind of numbered, and uh and I think that's totally legit. But yeah, investment is important for sure. I mean, I think real estate, it's a huge opportunity for anyone to become an investor, and I've when I first started in the business, that was sort of in the back of my mind. I know my dad or my parents are separated, but my dad he was a real estate investor, and he owns a bunch of rental properties and stuff like that now. But he would just start small, right? And just kept buying one every year or two or three or whatever it
Love
was.
that.
And then at the end of, he's retired now pretty much. But he owns a bunch of rental properties. They're all paid for. And he just, he opens his mailbox, and that's his retirement gig, like, and maintains them and does what he needs, but he's traveling around. And I think, for anybody, whether you're starting out, I mean, even if you're fresh out of school or, even more middle age, like, I think thinking about how do we earn a paycheck beyond just the next commission check, I think is a good way to think
Very true.
about investment for sure. So getting involved with investment, I think, is a great idea. And so do you do a lot of investing personally, or you just have clients that do, or what does your
Oh,
business look like now?
me personally, the goal is to flip a property this year and do a
Okay.
buy and hold. So I'm actively pursuing that. I own my personal residence. The goal is to kind of get this one paid off, subtly investing in stocks. But 10 years in the business, you see people hit right with fix and flips, with buy and holds, doing the burst strategy where they refinance, get their cash back, and they continue renting out the unit. That's really where my mindset's at. It's like that's going to be my retirement. Our bread and butter, we're doing it every day, is real estate. So why not invest in it? Be smart about it. You see the opportunities first. So that is my goal for this year. And I hope when we revisit 5 to 10 years down the line, I can look back and say, hey, Josh, I did it.
Well, are you open to some accountability here, Alex?
Please. Yes, let's
Okay,
do it.
so
Let's do it.
I I would like to hear in the next 6 months
Okay.
the property that you've either closed on or have under contract.
Okay. Closed on or under contract. It could be either a flip or a buy and hold, right?
Either one.
All right.
Okay. Because it's totally possible. I
Yes.
only have one rental right now. I have a 2 unit that I own that I've owned for years, but my wife and I bought it, lived in part of it for a couple years. Then we had a kid and needed more space, but we kept it. That was our long-term hold. I wish I had done it every 2 years for 10 years, but I didn't. But
Right.
anyway, that's a great strategy too to get started out in investing, right? Buy a duplex, just live in half of it. And
Right.
even if it costs you a little bit of money every month, because when I lived there, it definitely did cost me money. I wasn't making cash flow. There was no cash flow to be had, but like I had to pay to live somewhere. So whether you're
Of
renting
course.
or you are owning a home, like you got to pay to live somewhere. So for us, having a duplex that then ultimately did go up in value, the rents grew, and then also now it cash flows like crazy. It's like one of the best investments ever.
See, I
And,
love that.
and I've got 2 flips going right now, which I've done a handful before, but I'm trying to do more of them. And it's finding those opportunities, but they're kind of exciting too, right? It's like
Yes.
you find something, maybe it's a distressed property, but they need work, right? They need investment, some capital. And how do you, build the plan of like, okay, I'm going to redo the floors. I'm going to redo the counters. I'm going to repaint. I'm going to do
Right.
da, 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 right? But coming up with that plan and then put together your spreadsheet, build it out, and then build in your margin. What do you want your margins to be?
Amen.
And if you do that, whether you end up holding it or flipping it in a more short term, I think is a great strategy to go about as well. But it's been a fun journey for me as well to be a part of. Most of my business has
that's
been
great to hear.
on the brokerage side, but it's
Right.
been fun to be a part of the investment side too.
Being that designer, being that
Yeah.
behind the scenes, doing all that hard work, not like everything you see on HGTV, you know?
Yeah. No, we got tore down a wall on one of them and redid the
There we go.
kitchen, and it's like, oh, here we go. Let's get this
Yes.
done. Yeah, yeah, it's been fun. So, well, very cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing more about your
Thank you,
wisdom and
Josh.
insight. And I think you got a great message and story to share, right? So, if you're newer in the business, starting small
Mhm.
and maybe not making much money, really keep going, build that schedule, get a mentor, get focused, have goals, right? And at some point, right, if maybe you own your own home, try to look for investment opportunities that we're in this business. So looking for those investment opportunities is a great way to build your long-term wealth and your business for sure. So yeah, I love that. I don't know, anything else you'd like to add before we kind of sign off for today?
I just want to say thank you, Josh. Anything is possible. Go out
Yeah.
and get after it and treat people right. All right. The golden rule, baby.
Golden rule, treat people right. That's a fact. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Treat people right. Business will come back at you, and you'll
Oh,
continue to
yes.
grow and be a better agent. That's what we're all about. So I love it. Very cool. All right. Well, that's our show for today. Again, I'm Josh Lavik with Alexander Reid, the Better Agent Podcast. Tune in next time for some similar discussions on growth and how you can become a better agent. Thanks for tuning in to the Better Agent Podcast. I hope you found today's insights valuable. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for more tips, Q&A sessions, and sneak peeks into our 21-day challenge. To get full access of our show notes and more details on the 21-day challenge, go to abetterrealestateexperience.com. Keep striving for greatness, and I'll see you on the next episode.